Yo everyone, welcome back to brand new Techish. It is me, Michael Behane, CEO of Pocket. I almost forgot what I did there. And I'm joined with
Abadesi Sensati of Hustle Crew, here with all your inclusion training needs.
cool, dope. You know what? So Techish is not in its flop era, but you know who is in its flop era? Starbucks and Apple are slightly flopping.
Apple.
So let's start with Starbucks. Their shares went down 17% basically as their sales
That's what
slumped.
they deserve after cutting their EDI targets.
So essentially, reports came out to kind of justify why their sales had gone down. And I think a few of the reasons are BS, and I think a few of the reasons are genuine. So one of them was basically just obviously inflation, high cost of goods. The other reason was a post-pandemic slump. I'm not sure about that one. And then thirdly, the controversy regarding the kind of Israel-Hamas war stance.
Dude, I know people who are actively boycotting Starbucks.
100%, yeah.
Over, the genocide.
Yeah, like I've seen people go there and like you can just tell that they got their head down, they got their cap on, they're keeping it on.
Incognito!
It's interesting though, because I don't know if I need to listen. Obviously, this is where I have done my homework. I don't know if Starbucks is officially on the kind of BDS kind of like list of like, because there's an actual official BDS boycott, divestment, sanctions like list of companies to boycott. But I think
Starbucks has been on it for a while.
okay,
dude.
then cool. Yeah, I got that completely wrong. So I think
yeah,
that's definitely had a major impact. Inflation, I think, is a reason.
Yeah.
But also, do you think the Starbucks just ain't hitting it like it used to even before this whole situation?
I mean, there's competition now. We got like Blank Street Coffee, Black Sheep Coffee. Blank Street has like VC funding,
Yeah,
and they're
crazy.
blowing up all over. I mean, we're in London, so they're blowing up all over London. And they also have a more highly rotating menu of matcha flavors, which as a matcha fan, I like rate them for, because I don't feel like Starbucks has been innovating its matcha game.
It's been lazy. I can't lie.
Do you know what I mean? But at Hustle Crew, we reported on how Starbucks board voted against tying leaders' compensation to hitting equity, diversity, and inclusion targets, much to the frustration and sadness of underrepresented people, historically marginalized groups, and their allies, because what one does, the rest will follow. And a lot of research has gone into the fact that tying leadership's compensation to diversity targets, equity targets, representation targets is a really powerful way to accelerate progress and change. So when Starbucks board voted against that, I mean, I was really dismayed. A lot of companies I feel will follow. I feel like it's because they're divesting from diversity and inclusion as well.
I mean, you could definitely make the argument that you're not going to get any fresh ideas if you're not really prioritizing diversity to get some fresh voices, some new insights kind of thing. But I would also say that
it's also bad press.
it's bad press.
You're losing the black dollar, the black pound, not to mention all the other brown and...
Yeah, but I also think the product is just crap. I'm going to keep it a buck. Like in terms of
Do you
like...
drink coffee?
I'm not a big coffee drinker, but when I say the product, this is the thing about Starbucks. Starbucks was never about the product. I don't think the product was that great, really.
Pumpkin spice latte, though. People are cultish about that. Sorry.
Yeah, Paul Mooney said there's crack in that shit. He was like, there's crack in that coffee, man, because the way people are queuing up outside, like,
It's
oh my
called
God,
sugar.
Let me out. I need that.
It's called sugar.
But what I would say is like they kind of pioneered the idea of the third space. And they didn't pioneer it, but they kind of tried to pioneer it or act like it was their idea, which is that there's home, there's the office, and there's the third space, which is like a coffee shop, but kind of like Friends, Central Perk, the idea of chill with your friends. This is the third space, right? But if you ever walk into a Starbucks, they're run down as hell. The ones in London are ghetto. I'll be honest with you. Like, it's just not a good vibe. And I can tell there hasn't been a lot of, TLC putting into the stores.
No.
So me going into a Starbucks, even back in the day, even though I wasn't somebody who was necessarily purchasing the coffee, I might go with my girl. And I'll be like, I'm looking around
But
thinking...
that was your date spot.
Huh?
Starbucks was your date spot.
No. If I'm going with my girl, she wanted to get some and
Okay,
I might
right,
be with her.
yeah.
I'm like, this ain't really appealing.
No.
I'd rather go to a little independent thing that I know probably has an owner who's going to make sure the shop is clean because it's their pride and joy, right? So they were always selling a commodity. So to be honest, the ambiance and that was really key. So I can tell that probably is, to me, that's a factor, I'll be honest with you. Of course, inflation too. People are like, I ain't spending £10 on a cup of coffee no more.
Competition. Starbucks was relevant for me when I was about 14 years old, and I would go, out on the weekend from boarding school with my friends and be like, where should we go first? And we'd be like, Starbucks. And we had our orders. I would get like a white chocolate latte, aka the path to diabetes. And my friends would get, whatever else they were getting. And, as you get older, as you said, there's more competition for the third space too. Also, I mean, a lot of us during the pandemic, we just invested in our home hot drink game.
That's true.
I'll put myself in that category. I invested in a milk foamer. Best decision I ever made. I can make matcha lattes to taste. People got keep cups. We're thinking about the environment. I'm just saying, like, we approach that vertical differently now. You know, we're a lot more mindful of the waste and the quality. So yeah. Consumer taste can move on too.
Definitely buy me that for my birthday, the FOMO thing. Okay, shout out to that
It's
one.
on
No,
the
I'm
list.
joking. The other company that's
When you
struggling.
turning 40?
Oh, the other company.
Sorry,
35 still.
People in their 30s are like so sensitive to the word 40. It's hilarious.
The thing is, just when you get used to being in your 30s, all of a sudden in your 40s is in the horizon. You know, no one's there. But I'm still
in my
35.
20s, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
But the other company in its flop era is our good old friend, the fruit company, Apple.
No.
So their sales have slumped. iPhone sales have gone down, which make up the majority of their product sales, to be honest.
What are
And
people buying? Pixels.
I don't think it's that.
Samsung.
I think people are not upgrading as much as they used to.
Well, they need to stop releasing one every year because that's just dumb.
But the thing is, it was such a giant profit center to do that. And they could do that when each year there probably was some sort of innovation they could justify.
Yeah.
This is why you need a new version.
Now
The
it's just
cameras,
like new emojis.
it's a commodity now.
They are good emojis though.
But I mean, like, emoji or not, like, it's a commodity. There's not enough innovation for me to kind of think. Like, I probably could do a new iPhone once every 3 years, to be honest. I don't need to get one once every year.
Not to mention the environmental impact.
I mean, listen, let's keep it real. Most people don't give a shit. If the phone was let's keep it real. If the phone was amazing, everyone's gonna go get it. I'm not the consumer does not care about the environment very much so. I mean, listen, when I say the consumer, I'm talking about 90%. Once it gets above 20%, I will mention that as part of the consumer. But most consumers are just like, what is good for me? How much is it going to cost, right? And I think the iPhone cannot be justified as a once every year purchase. No way.
I thought the AirPod Max might save them, and not to mention the Provision.
I think the Provision has generated a lot of revenue in terms of like what a normal company would expect. But as like an Apple-sized product, it's not done that well at all.
Well, here's an interesting take. Why do we report on companies' success through that lens of like constant growth?
Share price, innit, man? I got my equity's got to grow, man. I'm trying to retire one someday. I'm trying to retire one day.
Okay, sure.
That's why.
But what do you want to have left for your future generations? Because we really
go to Mars with Elon, innit? That's what I'm saying.
Have fun.
Me and Reese Parkinson, the previous guest that loved Elon, we're going to Mars, man.
Have a good time. I'll be here. No, but I really wanted to like unsubscribe from this narrative and this like lens that like unless you're growing all the time, you're failing, because these are companies that are already like reaching the $1 trillion friggin' market cap, something we never thought we'd even see in our lifetimes. And if you look at the most highly valued companies on the stock market in the Western world, it is these tech companies. They're good. And people like, can't even remember any of their names now. Steve Jobs is dead. Tim Cook.
Yeah.
Tim Cook.
Tim Apple, as Donald Trump called him, Tim Apple. Tim Apple, that's so funny.
It's like he's got a flashcard behind on stage. But Apple, Starbucks, honestly, if they don't make any money ever again, they're still have made more money than like any of us and our listeners' businesses
I agree.
combined. So I don't know. I really dream of a future where capitalism has a bigger conscience than it has now, which is really not that hard because capitalism is so evil. So yeah, maybe this is like an opportunity for us to rethink how we define success. Now, I know shareholders are not going to be happy with that.
We are not. I do know some Apple stocks.
Well, you need to adjust to a sustainable level of growth.
I mean, obviously, there are probably funds that you can invest in that are kind of like focused on sustainability. So I'm a hypocrite for not saying, I'm acting like there's no alternatives. But in terms of Apple's, prognosis as a company going forward, what is making me feel like to sell my position is the latest advert they did. So they did an advert for the latest iPad. And the only thing they could mention was how thin it was and the memory. And I'm like, you know what? When I remember Steve Jobs returning back to the company and going on that historic bull run, the adverts were very much about the vibe of Apple. It wasn't selling me on 500 megapixels and that was the Intel and Microsoft things, like 600 GB is like, that was dry.
Sell me a lifestyle.
Put me on the little white headphones, people dancing in the shadows,
cool.
Think different. Do you know what I mean? But when I noticed that the company starts going and starts giving me specifications, I realized that the marketing has basically kind of lost its kind of wind. And also a thinner iPad, how does that help me do what I want to do with an iPad? Like I want to create with an iPad, I want to draw with an iPad, I want to sketch. Thinness ain't doing that for me, bro. You guys are not on the money right now, I'll be honest with you. I'm not convinced.
This is where big companies almost inevitably become victims of their own success, whether they get stuck in a groupthink mentality, whether they're resting on their laurels, whether they just become too big for radical ideas to surface to the right people in power that can make them come to life, you just reach a peak in innovation and then eventually relevance.
Yeah. I think the Apple story to me of the last 20 years is like Steve Jobs came back, he rolled the boulder up the hill, got it to the top, obviously passed away. Tim Cook came, masterful at optimizing, just pushed the ball down the hill and took all the profits. iPhone every year, you know, AirPods, the watch, you know, small leaps forward, but not massive innovation like Steve did basically. And now it's running out of steam. I'll be honest with you can only optimize so much, and they now need a new product to kind of go to that next generation. And I don't think the Vision Pro is it, or will be it for a very, very long time. So I'm not super bullish as an Apple shareholder. I may end up selling some position.
There's still an untapped market of technology to help the global majority, aka women, aka my tribe. I still feel that there's like a shortage of technological innovation that serves women's needs, whether it's tech that can help mums with their domestic chores, whether it's tech to help with childcare, whether it's tech that helps us with the fact that we have hormones and like cycles, or as we age are dealing with menopause. I just feel like, you know, when I was at the Grace Hopper conference, backstage Capital, you know, ran the Pitcher event, there was an incredible startup working on a wearable that helped you with hot flashes and cold flashes, which is something that doesn't just affect women with menopause, but other people with like illnesses, chronic illnesses that like mess with their body's ability to regulate temperature. So for me, everything always comes back to inclusion, diversity, representation. If you are stuck on ideas, stuck on those big leaps forward, it's because you have the wrong people at the table.
Yeah, because
Tim Cook, call me. I got ideas for you, bro.
Cool. But you know what? So the Apple Watch, it does give you the vibe of like, this is a company run by a 50 to 60 year old white man who loves to go on runs.
The first one didn't even have period tracker or work on dark skin, dude.
Yeah, so like, why has Apple not invented like that Flow app? Why has Apple not integrated like, you know, that sort of hot flushes? I mean, maybe, I don't know if it does. I'm sure it does do temperature regulation on your Apple Watch, but does it integrate it in a way where it's talking about the issues that you're talking about? I don't think it does.
So you're telling me an Apple Watch can send you like a cold pulse?
I don't know if I think it can sense your temperature. I think it must do.
It can sense it. Can sense it. No, I'm talking about technology that literally activates your pressure points.
To make you what?
Feel hot or cold.
Okay, I don't know if the tech's there just yet, but yeah, work on it.
The tech is there.
Okay.
Anyway, all I'm saying is
the tech is there. All right.
There. All I'm saying is listen to women. Give us a voice at the table.
Okay.
We got ideas.
So yeah, we're bearish on Apple. Shout out to Apple. Hi, some women. What else is popping in the world of tech? Do you want to talk about the other app that said it's floppy, or Bumble? Bumble was flapping. So
Love Bumble.
The thing about this dating app thing is so strange, because obviously me and you live in a world where like we just never really went on it. I was on Tinder like when it first came out that first year, when it was known straight up.
My dating app was poking people on Facebook. That's how old I am.
Is that how you met your husband? You're like, poke? Or was it like,
I actually met him through a friend, but all the people before are just like, oh, you're hot, poke.
There we go.
Yeah.
The Bumble app basically had its niche where the idea was that women message first.
Yes.
But I think Gen Z is not really messing with that, or Gen Z is not really messing with dating apps in general. I think they're probably seeing some user decline, and they're trying to now rebrand and change the strategy. And now it's basically back to being a default normal dating app where men and women can message first. Basically, it's no longer the onus is on women to message first.
It's losing that USP.
It's losing that USP, and I think it is symptomatic of when you've run out of ideas, basically, and you're just like, what can we do to move the needle? Like, oh, quickly, let's just go back on what, like, you know, work for us. And I think there's a value in having constraint. There's a value in building a product that says, like, we don't do this. If you want to do that, go elsewhere. This is what we do. And when you kind of lose that constraint and say, we're going to be all things to all people, it might look good immediately for, like, user metrics straight away. But eventually, you might optimize yourself into oblivion, because it's like, why am I going to go on Bumble? I might as well just go on Hinge or Tinder, etc., etc. Like, what's your thoughts on Bumble? Do you know anyone who's met anybody on Bumble? Or do you have any friends who met somebody on Bumble, or have talked about using the message first feature and whether they liked it or didn't like it?
I mean, my friend Naomi Walkland, who's the VP of marketing at Bumble, met her husband on Bumble before she even worked there.
Oh, wow.
She was running her own business, her own series of talks, The Power of Quitting, which was an incredible community all about women who, you know, use the power of quitting to like start a new chapter in their careers. I was on Bumble BFF for a bit, especially when I started Hustle Crew. It was nice to like meet other founders.
That's their friendship product, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been to like a few Bumble events. I think even in the past, Bumble have sponsored Hustle Crew events. Bumble's played a really pivotal role in my career, and it's been supportive of my community. And this is, again, I'm just going to come back to like the frustrating thing about capitalism, being a public company, the need to like constantly grow, we sacrifice long-term societal value and utility for like the next earnings report, you know? And I just feel like this idea that women make the first move introduced such a powerful conversation around, you know, consent, harassment, women's experiences online, women's experiences on the internet. And, you know, Bumble will always be remembered for that. And like for, and some of the campaigns they've done, you know, love, black love, honestly, like some of the most.
Yeah, the marketing's on point.
The marketing's just been absolutely incredible, like opening my eyes and, you know, hopefully young people's too, to stories they wouldn't otherwise necessarily see. And it makes me a bit sad that they are, like many other companies, especially in this climate, being, you know, backed into that corner of like, how are you going to improve the bottom line? But how are you going to improve the bottom line? But how are you going to improve the bottom line? And I feel so grateful to the fact that I bootstrap my own company, because if I was at the behest of investors asking me to do that, I probably wouldn't even be doing inclusion training anymore.
Right, yeah.
I'd be friggin' like selling shoelaces or like some random thing that's completely unrelated to my mission or the impact I want to create. And I really hope that they are here in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and that they're relevant, because I think what they've done for, you know, women and our power in a society that often robs it and steals it from us is amazing.
You know what must be difficult though is, and I'm going to guess, they probably did speak to their user base, and maybe they said to them, I can't be bothered to message first, basically, or like it's a bit of a thing. So sometimes you can listen to your user and they might even lead you down the merry pathway of oblivion, because they might say, you know what, this is what we want to change, but then it's like you just invalidate your whole USP. I don't know. How do you get around that though when you speak to users and they're like, the very thing that makes your product unique, I don't like it? And
but you don't listen to users, right? Because Henry Ford said if he asked people what they wanted, they'd say a faster horse. Yeah. So what you do is you listen to what they say, but you try to find the root problem inherent within that. So if I was the product manager at Bumble, and this is all hypothetical, I don't know any of these things, right? And let's say the user data comes back saying, I can't be bothered to message. I'll say, but why can't you be bothered to message? Is it too much friction in that user journey for you to get to that message? Are you not seeing people that you want to message? Is it our matching algorithm? Like, there's a reason why, you know what I mean? And to just jump to the conclusion or make the assumption that it's because you want to be messaged instead, that's dangerous. Assumptions are dangerous.
Yes. What you said about the matching algorithm makes me laugh, because every time I go on TikTok, there's some people who's just like, Hinge don't rate me. Because essentially, the way these dating apps work, they're not going to get good engagement if they present you with people, if they present people who won't match with each other. So I know for a fact there definitely is a ranking score up on your profile.
Oh yeah.
So like
and as soon as you download those apps, you see like all the hotties first.
Yes, but also
to keep you on.
They probably build a profile version of you, which is that they might say you're a 7 or you're a 6, and we're only really going to show you like 7 or 6s, and if you want to pay more, we're going to show you the 8s and 9s, and then 1,000%.
Yeah,
whatever you can imagine to make money, like that's what they would do.
Someone's doing it.
Yeah, someone's doing it, because the incentive is obvious. Show people who are either probably just below them or same level of them, and then to tease them to get paid. To do the paid option, show them people who are like quote unquote hotter, for example. I hate to objectify people, but we get what I'm saying here. So a lot of people go on TikTok and they're like, Hinge don't rate me. Like, is this the people that they think I'm level?
Wow, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the hotness of your feed is a reflection of how you are perceived through the algorithm. Yes. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's a wake up call. Show me your discovery.
But what do you mean Hinge? I'm in a happy relationship, innit? Do you know what I'm saying?
I thought you meant like in other things as well, like TikTok.
I'm talking about dating apps, just Hinge. I said I'll go on TikTok, and the Hinge users are complaining about Hinge because like, yo, Hinge doesn't rate me, because Hinge is only showing me people that I feel like I'm much more attractive than, basically like, how dare you, basically like.
So I guess it's using like some kind of like image recognition software to like compare your face against the database, or just based on engagement?
It's based on engagement.
Wow.
So if I present your profile to 1,000 men,
so you keep getting swiped left,
and only like, let's say only 10% of people are liking you, it can work out, okay, you're not that quote unquote attractive. Yeah, exactly. Damn. Of course, because the data is there. Like, I would, obviously there was that book released by the founder of OkCupid, but I would love to see a book written by the company that owns Match, which owns Tinder, Hinge. Please just open source it. I want to know like how it works, because that is humanity in its rawest, real form. Not what we say, but what do we do on these dating apps?
That's like real out in the jungle stuff. Interesting though, is there a job where you optimize someone's dating profile? Because
100%.
Because
especially for men.
If someone's been on a dating app for like, let's say 7 consecutive days, and they're not getting the matches that they want, I'd be like, delete the profile, start again.
100%.
Like, let's just wipe it.
Yeah.
and like hard reset photo shoot.
Yeah.
Throw some puppy photos in there, throw some keywords in there,
Yeah.
and start again.
I think it's notorious for men to get advice about like revamping their profile, because men often try to aspire to what other men like. So obviously like men think,
And the same, women perform to
same
women.
thing, but men are much more inaccurate. So a lot of men think they need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger to get love. I'll be honest with you. When I used to go to the gym a lot of the guys were like, yeah, once I got my 8-pack showing, it's all gonna happen for me. It's like, bro, that's not how the world works, man.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of my, women friends who have helped their male friends by being like, listen, that's not a good picture of you. This is, and all of a sudden they get much more matches because they're basing it on, they don't understand the quote unquote female gaze in terms of what they find attractive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? These selfies in the mirror with you doing gym, it's not working, bro.
Which
That's
is
not what's
why we
working.
should all be feminists, because then you'll understand us better.
But the what was the question you asked before that? I mean, is there a service? Yes, there is a service that should exist. I think it does exist as a professional business. It must do, because like a lot of men are absolutely clueless. The other thing about dating apps, I think I'm drawing a blank now. Yeah, I've drawn a blank. But anyways, yeah, shout out to Bumble. Good luck with the changes. Hopefully it doesn't completely decimate your business. I fear it might do. I feel like they'll have a giant spike in engagement, but then slowly but surely over a 5-10 year period we'll be like, oh, do you remember Bumble? Because like it's going to be like in a sea of other
differentiating factor?
Yes, basically. The other thing I wanted to talk about is what's going on in the world of finance. So we all know
money.
We love money, but we all know historically that if you wanted to work in banking, be prepared to work your butt off. Basically, be prepared to work, no live exaggeration, 100 hours a week. We know there's stories of there was a young kid actually that died. I mean, there's multiple examples of young interns going to work in the city and worked to death. There was one example of one kid, he had a seizure, passed away. Even in that TV show, the industry, they showed that's based on real life examples. So there's been another example of this happening where actually the person who passed away, rest in peace, was actually a Green Beret. So he thought probably I can handle a 100-hour work week.
Military.
Yep,
unit,
Navy SEAL.
Right? Okay.
He passed away through overwork, supposedly. So this has now led to a lot of the financial analysts, the kind of entry-level junior people, they're going on strike. The unionizing comrade at the Bank of England, Marxist comrades at the Bank of England. Like,
I mean, that feels incongruous.
No, because they just ask him for the basics. So part of the demands are literally, we demand no more 100-hour work weeks. A minimum of 1 weekend a month at least. So basically,
lol.
I don't understand how this is even legal. Because what they're asking for is like basic like labor rights. They're literally, because I can imagine when you get in that environment, even though on paper you're meant to have a weekend, the expectation is you ain't getting a weekend, bro. We want to see you. What's your thoughts on this? Like, do you know people that went to work in this kind of world, and how have they how have they
Do I went to the London School of Economics.
But how do they cope with this? Do they really work this many hours?
Do you know what? It's every environment has its own norms. That's what it is. You know, like we used to work in retail, and you know, people know who've worked in retail. Like you find ways to like look busy without being busy, especially if you're like a student. You know, you find like the corners of the shop where you can get away with having a conversation. Like there's like certain like norms and rules of being. Like when you're hungover, you know, you want to be in the stock room so you can just like chill. I don't know, like every environment has its own norms that are sort of accepted once you are a part of it as normal and okay. And when I was at university, I remember people, you know, fighting for that internship at the Magic Circle law firms. So these are like the top tier law firms, fighting for that internship at Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, all these investment banks. And just like that show Industry, you know, popularized in fiction, but ultimately is so based on reality, it was accepted that you would just be glued to your desk. And what's really interesting about that is I feel that a lot of that behavior actually like started at university. Like I remember being shocked seeing people walking into the university library with duvets, toiletry bags. Dude,
oh, hell no.
No, dude, I am not joking. And like, I have never been capable of pulling all-nighters because for me, sleep is an integral part of my recall. Like, I really need to like learn something. Sleep is like almost like saving the file on my hard drive.
Right, yeah.
And then the next day I can remember it better. So for me, like this whole doing all-nighter thing, I was just like, that's counterproductive. I can't do that. But I feel like that normalization of like, if I really want it, I have to sacrifice sleep for it. I have to sacrifice food for it. Like I'm telling you, I would see people coming into library with like a survival kit, like they were going camping. It's the library. Our halls are like a 15-minute walk away. What are you doing? So, you know, it's how we've internalized capitalism, which is ultimately a system of oppression, right? And I mean, great that people are like sparking up the conversation. I hope they make progress. But at the end of the day, it's like you are literally facilitating and perpetuating the system that's trying to kill you. And now you're asking the system for mercy. Like, if you really want mercy, dismantle the friggin' system. Don't work at an investment bank.
Yeah, I guess you could make the argument that, like, if I have a sign outside my house saying "come inside to get tortured," and you voluntarily walk inside because you think you're gonna get paid, and then you get in there, you're like, "Hold on, guys, I don't want to get tortured anymore." But it's like, what? So don't. We've told you straight up. This is what's expected of you.
Yeah.
Don't do it. But at the same time, I also understand why they're doing it, because it is a necessary fight. But the argument that employers will make will be like, "There's a queue outside of people that want this role. If you don't want this role, go."
You're asking an inherently unethical institution that you have chosen to work for through your own agency and autonomy to be merciful and ethical towards you.
Yes, but the flip side of the argument would be that every company and institution and industry was once like that. So people fought for the weekend, people fought for a 40-hour work week, etc., etc. And probably at the time, there was probably no child labor laws, all the fuckery that existed back in the day. And people had to be like, no, hold on, we've got to make a change, basically, right? So maybe this is no. What do you mean? Of course, there was
every institution.
What you
every
think?
Employer.
Did you not read Charles Dickens? How people used to?
Okay, so you're talking about white people, but what about like in the countries where my families grew up in? People weren't like slave drivers.
Yeah, I'm talking about within the West. I'm talking about within the hyper-capitalist West, basically, and the progress that's happened in that, basically, right? But yeah, what do you call it? Yeah, man. Shout out to the people, to the young comrades, young Marxist comrades. I have little faith. Power to the people, for our bank analysts at Bank of America. I'm making a joke. Oh man, yeah. The other thing that I wanted to discuss actually is about the decline of the UK. So this is a depressing talk.
Your favorite TikTok.
My favorite TikTok subject. So rumor has it that the Chinese government has hacked the UK government, essentially, and certain amount of data has been released. I don't know if it's confirmed that whether it is the government. I don't know.
This could be propaganda. My bank details, slide me some yen.
It could be fraudulent, but I don't know. It looks like it's legitimate. But this has now made people look back and realize that actually there was a job description for the head of UK Cyber. I remember this. 57 grand a year. Now, 57 grand a year in the UK is good money. It's decent money. Like, don't get twisted. But for someone to be the head of cybersecurity of the UK government or whatever, or any kind of head of department in the UK, governmental department, that's crazy. And I'm honest to God, you get what you paid for. No, I'm going to be honest. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, the private sector is offering salaries probably 2-3 times that amount of money.
Yeah.
Other governments are probably paying their people 2-3 times that amount of money, and you're gonna get a certain caliber person. And they're probably looking at the UK thinking this must be a soft touch, because if you're getting paid 57k a year when in the private sector you could get paid 3 times as much, you're not getting the best of the best.
True.
I'm keeping it real.
True.
And it depresses me, and I think that it's emblematic of what's going on in the UK right now. I see decline everywhere. I'm going to be honest with you. I see decline everywhere, and it's not filling me with optimism for the future. Still a great country overall, don't get twisted, but like I don't see it getting better.
Here's the thing, and this is like, I'm literally surprising myself as I start to speak out loud.
Go on then.
There's a trend of like bashing the UK that I see amongst my peers and other like young people and content creators I admire. And I'll be the first person to say that it's right to call out injustice and inequities and the widening gap between the privileged and less privileged that's been accelerating at a rapid pace under this current government.
Yes.
But I will also say that we're so friggin' privileged and lucky. There are people dying to come to this country. There are people risking their lives. Just recently, a young girl tried to swim across the channel from a migrant camp in France and lost her life in the process. So I also feel that like we need to strike the right balance, and at the moment I feel like we've not struck it in terms of the content that I'm consuming and what I'm seeing from people who look like me or who I respect and who I admire. Like, we're so comfortable in our like country bashing and it's not great that I feel like we're kind of letting negativity win.
Okay.
And I feel that I'm fundamentally an optimistic person, and I think optimism is much needed with the horrors going on in the world right now. Like, we need to keep hope alive, and we need to keep like an optimistic mindset. I'm not saying people shouldn't be allowed to criticize, and like that's great, but like we just complain so much in this country about everything, and sometimes I just want to like mute the complaints.
I hear it. I just think I saw a podcast clip actually that I think was quite insightful. It was a 30-something-year-old man explaining what his life was like when he was talking to the young person when he was their age. So he was like, when I was 30, I'm 31 now, when I was 21, I lived in East London, Hackney. I was on 30,000 a year. My rent was £300 basically, and I was rich. I could go to like this shop and buy a bag. I had like £2,000 to spare basically. The person who he was talking to is at that age now, and she's like, I couldn't dream of doing that. My rent is $1,200 a month, and I'm left with nothing left over basically, right? So I think what you're seeing is, you're right, is it nuanced? No. Is it proportional? No. But what you're seeing is people seeing their living standards collapse, and they're like, yo, what I was taught what to expect, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's based on real material things.
But there's also real opportunities that exist for a young person now that didn't then too, right? Don't get me wrong. It is hard to be a young person. I know that. I graduated in the last credit crunch. I graduated in the last recession. But opportunities like becoming a content creator did not exist back then.
But let's keep it real.
Opportunities like making money on the internet
1% make that.
did not exist back then.
Making it as a content creator, it's like saying go to Hollywood, be an actor. Like 1% make any real money as a content creator. Most people don't make diddly squat. The opportunity is there, but like you're playing a game where there's like a million people trying to play with you, right?
But
So
I think
I get what you're saying. There is opportunity.
And again, I am surprising myself with the things I'm going to say. I'm going to say.
Sorry, Abadesi.
But I graduated from the London School of Economics and continued working in my retail job.
Yeah, same.
Which was not what I expected to do as an economics graduate from one of the top tier universities in the country/world. And I see, and I'm not saying every young person is like this, but I see young people who are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to work a retail job. Why aren't you going to work a retail job? No, I'm not going to work a retail job because I'm studying marketing. So I only want to work in a creative agency, or I'm studying, music management. So I only want to like work at a record label. And it's like the correlation between, the advancement of society and like the abundance in society, the positive correlation in terms of our mindset is a sense of entitlement.
I disagree though, because I think what you're saying is anecdotal based on what you're hearing a few entitled people say, but the numbers are what they are. Cost of living, inflation, wealth gap, opportunities to buy property, it's all collapsed. And young people see that.
The UK is unique in that.
UK is worse than others because actually the property market, which is to me actually is the crux of the problem in the UK, that most of our wealth is tied up in property, not in stocks, not in companies, not in innovation, not that we make anything. It's all based on the land that people live in, and that is uniquely held in the hands of older people. And younger people are like, yo, I'm never gonna get 120 grand to put down a deposit.
But we're also obsessed with owning property.
Because it's a rat race that if you don't get on, you are almost screwed, uniquely screwed, because otherwise you're at the mercy of cutthroat landlords who can throw you out at any moment, basically. Some people get lucky and have a great landlord.
But there are lots of countries where like the percentage of home ownership is much lower than ours.
Because the rental market isn't as nuts, basically. Like there was a time, I don't know about now, but I knew people that lived in Berlin. They were like, yeah, it's mad cheap. And in Germany, not everyone owns a home, because actually you can rent here relatively affordable. But if you're trying to rent in London or any kind of cutthroat market in the UK, it's nigh on impossible to really and truly get ahead without help of somebody who has property, like a parent or somebody who passes away or some sort of inheritance. So I don't think young people are insane. I do agree there is some entitlement, there is some lack of proportionality in terms of criticism.
And success is inherently tied to status and things like owning property and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. We'll see what the audience think. Let us know at Techish Pod who came up in that debate ahead. But I think...
Who do you agree with?
Who do you agree with?
Whose side are you on?
I think that's enough for this episode.
The right versus the wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. That's enough for this episode. Yo, we'll catch you next week. Thank you for tuning in at Techish Pod. We'll catch you next week. Peace. Bye.